What?
Put that camera back up. Roll it.
It's not gonna do it, Dan.
Don't give me any lip, okay? Just roll it. Make sure it's pointed in my direction.
Numbers. Go. Goodbye. Go. Sorry about that.
Are you okay?
It was a drumstick. It was laying loose in the aisle. You guys have liability insurance, right?
Hey guys, Kiwi here. In this video, I'll be breaking down and analyzing the newest episode of Better Call Saul, Season 3, Episode 8, Slip. With that being said, warning of spoilers, and let's jump right into this. Alright, so the beginning of the episode starts out showing a flashback of Jimmy and Marco during Jimmy's week in Cicero, shortly before Marco's unfortunate death. So Jimmy and Marco are in an abandoned corner store that was owned by Jimmy's father, as Jimmy explains his opinions to Marco about how he saw his dad for being an easy pushover, as he thought that his dad had so much potential, but he's saddened by the idea that it was all wasted putting time into that store. Jimmy's father just wanted to own a corner store and make people happy, but Jimmy felt ashamed that his father wouldn't believe people were conning him. If you'd like to hear a more in-depth analysis on this scene, feel free to check out my explanation on the origins of Slip and Jimmy up on the channel soon, but let's go ahead and jump to Mike and see what he's up to during this episode. We watch Mike go back out to the same place that he robbed Hector's truck, and he starts searching for Hector's victim with a metal detector. Just as I predicted, Mike spends a long-ass time out there searching, but he eventually ends up finding a body by digging up the civilian's hand to find a ring on his finger. Mike anonymously reports the body on a payphone, telling them to retrieve the body, but that he doesn't want to give his name because he was trespassing with the metal detector. Now back in Season 2, Mike robbed Hector's truck in the hopes of the cops getting involved with Hector's business, but because Mike decided to give the truck driver mercy and leave him alive, some innocent civilian driving by stopped and set him free, causing him to call Hector, and as Hector and his men arrived at the robbed truck to clean it all up, it sadly involved killing the innocent civilian in the progress. For those of you who may not remember this, it was all off screen and was explained to Mike by Nacho during the end of Season 2. Now in recent episodes, Mike has been feeling guilt about the civilian killed because of this Anita woman's story about her missing husband and how it's affected her. Also, considering that Mike's son was killed for being clean, Mike is very sensitive for people getting affected who aren't a part of the game. Now later on we can see Mike taking his remaining hidden money out from under the floorboard in his closet, and he counts it all on his kitchen table. Mike then goes to Los Pollos at night to speak to Gus about helping him with his money that he is unable to spend. Mike wants Gus to help him legitimize his money, considering that Gus used Los Pollos to do the same thing with his drug empire money. Sadly, Gus tells Mike that it would be unwise for them to be affiliated publicly, so although Gus denies this, he offers a counter deal by standing up and holding out his hand. Mike shakes as they imply that Mike will start working for Gus from now on, and we get to see the origins of Mike originally being hired by Gus himself. With all that out of the way, let's go ahead and look at Jimmy's side of the episode as we start out with him at the guitar store discussing their deal with the two store owners who have called the broadcasting company and figured out that Jimmy's just trying to sell his slots for a raised price. They are being extremely difficult and annoying with Jimmy as they try throwing him under the bus every chance they get. I understand not wanting to get overpaid for Jimmy's services, as what he's doing is just a technical loophole so that he can still sell his commercial slots, but these people are honestly just being complete dicks to him. These twins are trying to weasel their way out of a handshake deal, but Jimmy won't stand for it. He tells his cameraman to start recording and to not ask questions, and then Jimmy secretly drops a drumstick on the ground as he goes over to make small talk with the owners, just to walk away and purposely trip on said drumstick. Now I actually saw people predicting this in the comments, considering that we saw Jimmy on the ground in pain in the previews, and I suppose all you guys were right. The episode is called Slip because Jimmy slipped and fell to give him leverage over the entire situation. As Jimmy asks the twins if they have liability insurance, the scene cuts to black and we then jump to Kim, who is at lunch with Misa Verde. Now as Kim is discussing their work, Howard walks in with his own clients as well. This is where we get the sneak peek we broke down previously of Howard walking up to Kim's table and greeting them while kind of undermining Kim in a very passive-aggressive way. This obviously upsets upsets Kim, causing her to excuse herself from her table in order to write Howard a check for just over $14,000 to pay her back for her law school that HHM covered for her when she left the firm. This is a way to be sure that she doesn't owe HHM anything, as she doesn't want Howard undermining her in the future. Howard, obviously offended by this, comes up to her outside by valet afterwards and asks her what the hell is up. Howard explains that he's doing damage control, trying to maintain the reputation of the firm after Kim and Jimmy, quote, ran it through the mud, and as Howard recaps everything that he's done for Kim and how he feels like she's just stabbed him in the back in return, he rips her check and tells her that he's not cashing it, as her debt is forgiven. Howard states that everything is on Kim, but she just responds by telling him that she was just showing the situation for what it was, and that if Howard is hiding that from his clients, that's on him and him alone. Is this more foreshadowing of Howard wanting to go separate ways from Chuck? Howard has always been a good friend for Chuck, like how he covered for him by being the one to tell Jimmy that they wouldn't hire him, for example, but when Chuck starts completely ruining their firm's reputation, how much more will Howard take? Speaking of Chuck, after he meets up with Dr. Cruz about how he's trying to recover from his condition, he goes to the grocery store even though she tells him to not push himself. Chuck is determined to overcome his condition, and although I'm happy to see him try to move on with his life as he's realized that it's all in his head, it seems like he's really pushing himself too far. Chuck tries walking through the store to collect groceries, but the entire time he's showing obvious discomfort. As he goes down the frozen aisle to get the soy milk, he freaks out due to electricity. Now, I guess he ends up finishing shopping successfully as we see him calmly walking back to his house, and he gets there to find Howard waiting outside, wanting to talk to him about his malpractice insurance. Now, I'll most likely be talking more about that in a future prediction video, considering that's all we got to see so far, but anyways, back at Kim and Jimmy's office, Kim hears a guitar coming from Jimmy's office specifically and walks into him playing one while laying on the floor. The song he's trying to play is called Smoke on the Water by Deep Purple, and it's actually the same one that he'd listened to with Marco. It's the same song that he hums whenever he's rubbing Marco's ring, and it was also played during the season 1 finale. So anyways, Jimmy explains how he sold the rest of his commercial time, but that he slipped the day before and hurt his back. Kim suggests that Jimmy should just take a break from work and rest until he's back on his feet. Although Kim was literally holding Jimmy's payment for the office in her hands, she still offered to pay rent for a while, but Jimmy denies it, saying that what he gave her is enough for the next 6 weeks. Later on in the episode, we get to see Saul back at community service again as he's overhearing some drug dealer trying to convince the supervisor to let him leave. Jimmy talks to the dealer after and convinces him that he'll get him out of there along with keeping his hours, but that it'll cost him $700. The drug dealer agrees and Jimmy proceeds to lay down on the job, provoking the supervisor. Jimmy starts laying down the law on this guy, explaining to him the financial hell of getting sued. As Jimmy tells this guy what'll happen to him if he doesn't let things go his way, the asshole decides that getting sued over this isn't worth it. That's probably the easiest $700 we've ever seen Jimmy make, and I predict that we'll be seeing a lot more actions like that as Jimmy tries to keep up his end of the office payments. Now, I've saved the best for last as we get to see a montage of Nacho filling up the pills that he plans to plant on Hector. This montage almost gives me nostalgia of previous Breaking Bad scenes, so it was great to see. Nacho also practices tossing the bottle of pills into Hector's jacket on the back of a chair, but he keeps failing over and over again. His father then shows up and he just mentions that he was doing something with the business, and so later on during the night before Nacho plans to switch out Hector's pills, he sabotages the air conditioning at the restaurant that he usually sits at with Hector to collect his tributes from his dealers. He does this to make sure that Hector will take off his jacket as it'll be warm in the restaurant without air conditioning. After Crazy 8 brings his cut in, Nacho pretends to suspect a bill being fake and he gives it to Hector to look at as a distraction while Nacho pickpockets the pill bottle out of Hector's jacket. And when Nacho doesn't find the pills in the first pocket, he drops all of his bills on the ground just as another excuse to look at his other jacket pocket. Then, after Nacho accepts the money from Crazy 8, along with a second dealer, he manages to swap the pills in Hector's bottle with his duplicates in his lap without without Hector noticing. You can just tell how tense of a moment this is for Nacho, as he's literally in the middle of sabotaging Hector's heart pills right in front of him. And as the final moment of truth arrives, Nacho turns around and stands up to ask Hector if he wants more coffee as an excuse to walk past him and throw the pill bottle back into his jacket. As Nacho walks by, we get to watch his slow motion toss as he perfectly lands the bottle in Hector's pocket. By the time Nacho gets to the counter to get Hector's coffee, Nacho's hands are shaking immensely as you can tell how stressed out he was about making that shot with the pill container. Now, all we have to do is wait for Hector to have a heart attack and take his faulty pills. Will Nacho be with Hector when this happens, or will this happen to Hector alone? I assume that someone will be there with Hector while it happens, and Nacho needs to switch the pills back anyways, so we still have to wait and see how he'll accomplish that. If you've enjoyed anything I've said today, I'd appreciate a like on the video, as it really does help me out and show me that you guys enjoy Better Call Saul as much as I do. Feel free to leave your opinions down in the comments section below, or even subscribe for future Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad content. That's pretty much it for this video though, guys, so I thank you all so much for watching, and until next time, I'll talk to you guys later. Peace out.
That's 700 I done never spent. Here you go. I'm out. Yeah. Yo, I'm on my way. Yeah.